Okay. Everything should be working now. My apologies. Hopefully you can hear me and you can see the event starting soon screen. Just give me one moment because I want to make sure everyone has the correct link. I'm still a little new to streaming on YouTube. I do it every once in a while, but you know, every once in a while is just enough for mistakes to happen. So we will get started in just a minute. Okay, so now everyone should have the correct link. Hello! Hello, Zaya. Hello, Joshua. So now that I have gotten the link out to everyone, I guess we can get started. Thank you for your patience with the technical issues. Today, I'm going to be doing a presentation on tools, tips, and tricks for accessible streaming, particularly streaming on YouTube and on Twitch, because those are the ones that I am most familiar with. So you might be asking, who am I? There is a picture of me. That's what I look like. Well, that's what I looked like in 2019, but I still look pretty much exactly the same. And I'm holding a Yoshi Build-A-Bear that I had just made. I am the president of the Video Games Club at World Campus. We are a entirely online organization that is a student recognized organization for Penn State students. I've been streaming on Twitch since the summer of 2019, so I am pretty familiar with streaming, with how it works, and with Twitch in particular. And I also have a YouTube channel where I upload my VODs, my archives of my streams, and upload short form content as well. So you might be asking, why do this presentation? Of all the different things that you can talk about when it comes to streaming, why talk about accessibility? Why not talk about something else? Well, it's very important to me particularly, but to everyone, to make the internet and by extension our channels a more inclusive place and a more inclusive place for people with disabilities. I had to learn all of this information myself. I didn't have a guide, I didn't have really anyone telling me about this. It was all things that I had to figure out through trial and error, through people giving me requests for things that they wanted to see on the channel, through ideas that I had kind of come up with, and through watching other streamers and YouTube channels and seeing what they were doing, and often what they were doing wrong. I do want to give a disclaimer before we get started. Uh, Accessibility is a very, very broad topic. It covers a lot of different things, especially on the internet, and we certainly could not cover all of it in one presentation. But I'm going to try and cover some basic, really good ideas to get you started, and then some other tips that I have that I don't see mentioned as much. And I'm sure once you start working on accessibility on your channels, you're going to come up with even more ideas of things that you can do. I also want to give a disclaimer that I'm going to be presenting a lot of information, and I know that. I know that you might not be able to remember all of it immediately afterward. So that's why I've linked this presentation, a view-only Google Drive version of this presentation, in the description below so that you can download it, print it out, keep it, review it whenever you would like. And also all of the links for resources that I have throughout the presentation, you'll be able to actually have those links and go to them. So don't worry about writing everything down, just kind of let it wash over you and sort of take in the information. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about are captions. Captions are something that are talked about a lot when it comes to internet accessibility and video accessibility. So what are captions? Captions are a way to include deaf people, people who are hard of hearing, and anyone who would benefit from seeing what is being said in a written form. Captions appear on the screen, telling people what words are being said during a video, movie, TV show, stream, etc., and so forth. There are a bunch of different kinds of captions. These are some of the basic ones. So you have auto-generated captions, for example, YouTube and Facebook. You have live real-time captions. So these are captions that appear as there is a live broadcast. They might be auto-generated or they might be done by a professional who is typing them out as the broadcast goes. And you've probably seen these in a Zoom meeting, or if you are watching the news, or possibly even if you're watching a stream. There's also closed captions. Typically, when we're referring to closed captions, this is the most common kind of caption, and these are they might be real time, but they're usually pre-captioned. So someone sits down and works on the captions and completes it for something that's been pre-recorded, and then you're able to watch with those captions. So it might be a movie, it might be a TV show, or it might be a YouTube video. There's also open captions, which are not as common. We don't really see them as much, especially in America. But these are captions that are on the screen and cannot be turned off, so they're on the screen for everyone. Most frequently, the only time we might see this is in when we're looking at subtitles, and those aren't really the same types of things as captions for the deaf and hard of hearing. You might see these in a movie theater if you go to a movie that is open captioned. Now, I get it. Someone who's a small streamer who doesn't have any employees, doesn't have anyone helping them, can't afford professional real-time captioning. So that's it. We can't do captions. End of story, right? Wrong. You can still provide auto-generated live captioning during your streams, both on YouTube and Twitch. In YouTube, you can do this natively from the control room settings for your stream. And through Twitch, you can do these through free extensions that are created by other users. They're pretty easy to set up. The instructions for YouTube captions are available through the YouTube help and Google support pages. And the instructions for Twitch are available from the websites or instructions for the extension that you're using. So here are some resources for setting up captions. Here are the resources for setting them up on YouTube. And here are some resources for Twitch. I have two extensions that I really like. Stream Closed Captioner is probably the most popular one that I've seen the most people using. I really like this one because you can change the kind of font, the size, the color, and it's not changed for everyone. It's based on the individual viewer. So the viewer can change the captions to something that works for them, and every viewer can have a different experience on your stream. Another one is closed captions for streams. This works generally the same way, but they don't have as many customization options. But I will say that the quality of the captions for both of them are almost identical. They're both very, very good for the quality of the captions themselves. I really like using Twitch, particularly because of the extensions that you can use for real-time captioning. I think that it's just great. Some other things about captions. You can add closed captions to YouTube videos, so your pre-recorded content, just like I was saying before, so that your viewers don't have to use the auto-generated captions. The auto-generated captions can have a lot of mistakes and grammar errors, and if you're using words that are particular to a game, the captions may not understand what that word is. So if you do the captions yourself, you can fix all of those problems. However, this does require a decent amount of time, and if you're not doing YouTube as your full-time job, you may not have time to do this. If you do choose to do it, I would suggest starting off with shorter videos. If you have long VODs or archives that are 6 hours long, it's going to be really difficult for you to caption those. My recommendation for when you're doing captions is to wait for the auto captions to generate on your video. Depending on the length of the video, it might take 30 minutes to an hour. And then what you can do is you can go into the captions and you can duplicate and edit them. So when you click on duplicate and edit, it makes a separate caption file, and then you can go in and you can change things. You can make sure that the correct words are being used. You can make sure that the spelling is correct. You can add punctuation, and you can just generally make them better. Once you're done, you can just publish it. It's really that easy. So now that we've talked about captions, I wanted to show you this picture. This is a picture from when I was taking a plane ride to Richmond, and we were taking off from Philadelphia International Airport. And what you can see below is the highway that is actually leading to the international airport. So we were flying right over it, right over the cars that were going probably to also take a flight as well. But what if we can't see this picture? What if we are blind, or we have low vision, or the picture doesn't load because we have a slow internet connection, so we just can't see this picture? How do we know what's there? What if the picture is important to the context of what is going on? What if it's on social media and it's an infographic, and the infographic has important information about where you're supposed to go during a natural disaster, or where you're supposed to go to see a stream? How do we know what is in this picture? Well, in that case, we have what's called alt text or image descriptions. Alt text or image descriptions are descriptions of an image that can be read by a screen reader to a person who is blind or has low vision. Typically, in the past, alt text was very short descriptions. Now it's leaning more towards longer, complete descriptions. I would say that a short description is good, a longer description is probably better, but whatever you can do as long as you're adding alt text to describe what the image is. Adding alt text to or image descriptions is free, it's quick, and it's easy, so it's a wonder that more people don't do it. It's an absolute must to use alt text on your social media posts, especially if you're using your social media posts to create promotional images for your streams. A lot of people will take images from a game or some kind of image of themselves dressed up as a game character, and then they'll put that there's going to be a stream happening on Tuesday at this time. And that image has critical information for if someone wants to participate in the stream and watch your content. If that image isn't described, people are going to miss out on that information. So, how do we add alt text? What do we write for our alt text? What if we don't know? What I would recommend is if you're trying to describe an image, close your eyes. Think of what the image is. What would you say to someone to help them see this image in their head? Describe the overall picture, but also if there's details that are important to the context of the image, describe those as well. If a person is in the image, what emotion are they displaying? And also make sure to note any text in the image, especially if the text is not in the body of the social media post. So, for example, if the image is just text, nothing else, and it's exactly what is in the social media post, you can put as the alt text, the text is the same as what is in the social media post because it's still describing the image. And then someone knows, okay, I'm not missing any information. I saw what's in the body of the social media post. I understand what's in the image. But if it's other text that's not in the social media post, you would want to explain that. So I'll give you an example. Here is a lovely, amazing picture of my cat Jack. He's just adorable. How do we make it so that someone knows what's going on in this picture? Well, we could say, my Siamese cat leans on the arm of a black leather computer chair, gazing at the camera with relaxed and content eyes. He is wearing a red and black plaid neckerchief. If you close your eyes and listen to that description, you can imagine exactly what's going on in the image, almost perfectly. So this is a really good example of alt text. Here's another example. So we have this really great picture of my cat Jack again. And how do we describe it? So I've described it, my Siamese cat looks off to the right absently. My hand holds a headset with a microphone on his head, making it look like he's gaming with friends. So we know what's in the image, we know what kind of emotion that Jack is expressing, and we also know that the point of the image is to make it look like he's a gamer. It's supposed to be kind of a funny image because obviously cats don't play video games. So now that we know what alt text should look like, how do we get started? If you want to do alt text on Twitter, here is the link on how to start setting up alt text descriptions on Twitter. You can do this on your computer or on your phone, whether that be iOS or Android. It has explanations for the instructions for all of those things. For Facebook, they do generate alt text for images automatically, which is kind of nice, but it's not very accurate at all. It's really only accurate if the image is completely text. So the best thing to do is to go in there and edit it or to add your own alt text, similar to how you would do with auto-generated captions. There's instructions for that here as well. For Instagram, it's the same thing as Facebook. They auto-generate the alt text and you can edit it or add your own, and there's the instructions as well. So now that we know how to generate alt text on social media, what if there's no alt text option? What if we are on some kind of website and we're posting an image and we just have no ability to add alt text the way that we normally would? What do we do then? So, for example, if you're on Discord and you're on your Discord server and you're sharing images related to your streams, you might say, how do I do alt text on Discord? There's no way. You just share an image and you hit upload, and that's all you can do. What you can do is you can describe it with a manually written description underneath the image. So you can send your image and then you can send a follow-up message with a description of what is in that image. Some examples of this might be ID, a picture of Bob from Animal Crossing doing yoga in the plaza. Or alt text, a picture of my hermit crab sipping some water from a ceramic bowl in his tank. Or here's a longer one, image description, a picture of me sitting in front of the Nittany Lion statue at Penn State University Park. I'm smiling and wearing a Penn State hoodie. When it comes to Twitch panels, a lot of people have very nice images to separate their panels by theme. So, for example, you might have your rules panel and it has a little image of you smiling and it says rules. Or you might have an About Me panel. But these images aren't described. There's no way to natively add alt text to the back end of these images. So, in the same way that we do for Discord, we can write manual descriptions. We can do this at the beginning of the panel text. So you upload your image, and then where you would normally put panel text, you can start off with the description of the panel image. I found the best way to do this is with a block quote, but you could certainly do it other ways. Just remember that Twitch follows Markdown, not HTML, so you'll need to follow their Markdown guide. Here's two examples of me using block quotes to describe images, and as you'll see, I haven't included the images because I want you to kind of try and imagine what the images might look like. So for my currently playing panel, it says ID. In the bottom corner, a chibi Ash smiles with a heart next to them. A sign with yellow and black controller is hanging off of it, reads currently playing. And for my schedule, that one just happens to be text in the form of an image. So it says ID text read schedule. And then it goes into my normal panel descriptions. Now, if you're on social media or anywhere else and people are sharing images, not yourself, but someone else is sharing an image and they don't have any alt text, you can still describe it. You can describe it in the replies or in the comments. Just reply or comment with your image description the same as you would write on Discord or for your Twitch panels. I do this all the time. If I want to share information, for example, there's information about a new game that's coming out, but the image doesn't have any alt text. I will share the image and then I will also reply with the image description. If you need help figuring out if an image has alt text, on Twitter, there's a real easy thing that you can do where you can reply with @get_alt text on any post. That will send a message to an account that is run by a bot. The bot will let you know in about a minute or so whether or not the image has alt text. And if it doesn't have alt text, it will reply, sorry, this image doesn't have any alt text. And that keys into you that you need to write your own image description. For other sites, this is how you do it in Chrome, but it's very similar for Firefox and Edge. What you would do is right-click on the image. You would click on Inspect, and then you would look for the image's URL in the window that pops up. The URL would look something like this. So image source equals ashschultz.com/mycat.jpg, alt equals, and then the alt text would be there. If it just says image or nothing at all after alt equals, that means that there's no alt text, and that's, again, an image that you would want to be describing. You can also, if you really feel like it, use your screen reader on your iOS or Android phone. You would go into the accessibility settings and turn on the screen reader, and then you would go to that image and have your screen reader describe that image for you. If there is no alt text, the only description that you will hear be read to you is image. So the final big topic that I wanted to talk about is content warnings and trigger warnings. Content warnings and trigger warnings are warnings about the type of content being broadcast and that it might have upsetting or disturbing content in it. They may also be used to warn if the content may cause a seizure as well. So when should you use content warnings and trigger warnings? We know what they are, but sometimes it's hard to tell. Should I be using one? When should I be using one? When is appropriate? Well, you should always be using them when necessary to abide by the terms of services of the website that you are streaming or posting videos on. For example, Twitch and YouTube require you to denote if your content is only for mature audiences or ages 18 or up. You should also be using warnings when you're playing a game, reacting to a video, or discussing content that might be upsetting and disturbing to viewers. Some examples of this might be when discussing certain aspects of mental health, when playing games with jump scares, when discussing upsetting current events, things like that. Like I previously said, you can also use warnings when you're playing a game or reacting to content that could possibly trigger a seizure. These types of things might be if they have strobe lights or flashing colors. Here's a sort of unorthodox example, but I have a stutter that kind of comes and goes. I don't always have it, but sometimes I do. When I'm having a really stuttery kind of day, I add stutter warning to the beginning of my stream titles to let people know that the captions might have issues during this time, so they're not confused about what's going on. So, where should you use your content warnings? We know what they are, we know when we should be using them, but okay, how do we implement them? How do we make sure that people are seeing them? To denote that your content is for mature audiences on Twitch, you can go to your creator dashboard, click on Settings on the left sidebar, click on Stream under Settings, and then go to the Mature Content setting and toggle it on. This will toggle it on for all of your streams. To set age restrictions on YouTube, you can do this for live streams or for videos. Here is the link for instructions on that. It tells you how to do it for multiple videos, for one video, or just for streams. I do kind of like this on YouTube that you can set it just for some things and not for others, especially if you're playing different types of games or reacting to different kinds of content that may not always be for mature audiences. For other kinds of content warnings, on Twitch, you should prominently put TW warning or CW warning at the beginning of the title. Typically, I use TW because I feel like that's more widely known, but CW might be appropriate as well. For content that may cause seizures, you can use seizure warning in all caps at the beginning. You should also put these warnings in any announcements for the related stream, whether it be on Discord or social media. Just because you're putting it in the title of your stream doesn't necessarily mean that someone is going to see it in time. If they come to your stream in the middle of the stream when the content that is disturbing, upsetting, or possibly seizure causing is going on, they're not going to have adequate warning. So if you put it right in the social media post, they see it before they even click on the link for your stream. On YouTube, you can put the warnings at the beginning of pre-recorded videos. So for example, when I had a VOD that I uploaded from my Twitch channel, it had some content that could be seizure inducing. So I added a warning on a title card at the beginning of the VOD, and I mentioned specifically where the warning applied to. You can also put warnings in the description as well, preferably with a timestamp for when the warning applies and when it ends. It's really nice when you use timestamps on YouTube because it will actually link so that people can just click and skip past the warning. For live streams, you can do the same thing that you would do for Twitch streams, as well as put a warning in the description. A good resource for content warnings that I really love is a website called doesthedogdie.com. It has warnings about movies, TV shows, video games, books, I mean, anything that you can think about, really. A lot of people contribute to it and add warnings, and they even have specific warnings related to flashing lights and images. Many game developers also supply warnings for their games at the beginning of the game or in the description of the game's store page. When it comes to React content, so maybe when you're reacting to a video or a meme, you may want to have a friend pre-screen the videos for you. This is also good to ensure that the videos you will be reacting to don't violate the terms of service of the website that you are streaming on. And you don't have to worry about the video being spoiled because your friend saw it, not you. So you can still be reacting, sort of going in without having seen it before. Finally, I just want to offer some other tips and things to think about that didn't really fit anywhere else in my main categories. One thing that is really important to me, and I think a lot of streamers make mistakes with this, is limiting what is on your screen. Try to keep your main content easy to focus on. I know everyone likes to have cute panels that are themed to their channel theme and little extras and gifs and put the chat on the screen and all of that, but at some point it becomes difficult to focus on your main content and it just becomes cluttered. When there are more panels and extras on the screen, your main content also becomes smaller and harder to see for low vision viewers, especially on mobile. On a computer, someone may be able to zoom in and make things bigger, but on mobile, you only have so much screen to begin with. Your viewers can also get distracted from your main content if there's a lot of things going on other parts of the screen. If you have Twitch point rewards that allow people to redeem gifts, memes, or videos, make sure there is a long cooldown in between redemptions. I have a really good story about this. So, I have a lot of streamer friends, and one of my best friends has this really cool reward on her channel called Defeat the Great Evil. And what Defeat the Great Evil is you can turn in a bunch of your Twitch points for watching the stream, and then this big evil monster is defeated in this glorious victory scene, and everyone loves it and they all think it's great. But if we had our way, we would be redeeming it every 5 minutes. Nothing would ever get done. The screen would just be covered with Defeat the Great Evil all the time. So she has, I think it's a 45-minute cooldown on it. That way, we can redeem it, we can have our fun with it, and then we can go back to the stream. When you're talking about limiting what's on your screen, you do also need to decide whether or not you want chat on your screen. There's a lot of different ways to do chat on your screen, and most of the ways are fine, but there are some wrong ways to do chat on your screen. If you put it on, make sure to put it off to the side and not covering up your main video. I can't tell you how many times I go onto a stream and they have the chat and it just covers up part of the game or the video or what they're watching, and you can't see the whole thing. YouTube Live saves records of live stream chats. If you're worried about losing the chat, you may want to use YouTube to stream. It's kind of nice because it also, after a stream is archived, you'll have the live chat, but then you'll also have other comments as well that weren't part of the live stream chat. And also make sure that your chat is in a legible font and color. If you put it in bright yellow in a Wingdings font, no one's going to be able to read it, and there's really no point in it being on the screen. It's just a distraction at that point. When you're responding to your chat messages verbally, make sure to read the message out loud or paraphrase what was said to you in case someone missed the message or can't see the chat. So, for example, if someone asks you a question and you just respond yes, people might be wondering, why are they saying yes out of nowhere? What's going on? So, you may want to say, oh, Zaya asked me if I'm going to be playing Left 4 Dead later. The answer is yes, I will be playing it, but after I finish this game first. You should also decide if you want to use donations with redemption for gifts, sounds, and TTS, text to speech. I see a lot of larger Twitch streamers use this, and it can be really, really fun, but it can also be a huge distraction. If there's GIFs popping up on the screen and covering things up, or big loud sounds being played and you can't hear what's going on, or the text to speech is just going off during the entire stream, it just becomes a detractor rather than adding something enjoyable. Make sure that the gifts that you have available for redemption also will not cause seizures in people. Make sure that they are gifts that don't have flashing lights and that you think, again, will be appropriate for the stream. Make sure that any sounds that people can redeem do not include screams or upsetting content. And for the TTS donations, you might even want to consider turning them off during certain parts of your stream, especially during long conversations, so that viewers can understand what you are saying without being confused. For example, some streamers that I know will put the TTS on in the beginning and they'll put it on in the end, but then, sort of in the middle of the stream, once they get down to the main content, they will turn it off so that everyone can focus. You can also provide other rewards and incentives for donations, and you can encourage the use of Patreon, Coffee, Bits, Super Chats, and so on and so forth. Bits are a way to donate on Twitch, and Super Chats are a way to donate on YouTube, if you're not familiar. Another thing, talking about verbal descriptions, when we're talking about verbally describing a message, you might also want to use verbal descriptions when you're reacting to something visual that's going on the screen, especially if there's no other sort of auditory cue of what's going on. So, for example, maybe a character is wearing a funny shirt in the game and you start laughing, but no one knows why you're laughing. You might say, "I can't believe he's wearing a shirt with a cat meme from 2006 on it." Or if your car begins to drive backwards as if it was normal, you might say, "How am I doing this? How am I driving backwards? Like everything's perfectly fine. This is so silly." And in this way, you're reacting to the content in a way that doesn't feel forced, but you're also giving people a cue about what's going on visually. You also want to make sure that captions are turned on when reacting to videos or playing a game. You don't just want to make sure that the captions are turned on for yourself, but also that it's turned on if there are voiceovers going on in the game or if you're reacting to a YouTube video. So when you're playing a game, you can usually find this in the settings, and when you are reacting to a video, you would find this in the captions on the YouTube video or whatever website you're reacting to. Another thing I also suggest is to create some kind of suggestion box, or if you have a Discord server, that's good as well, or some other place where your viewers can give you feedback and suggestions. Feedback and suggestions are really great because while we all would like to think that we are the greatest minds that have ever came to be, a lot of people can contribute to your stream, and if they're long-term viewers, they want your stream to be better. They enjoy watching your content and they want to see it get even better. So they probably have some really great suggestions for you of how you could take your content to the next level. I also recommend considering setting up auto mod on Twitch or recruiting some volunteer moderators to ensure that your chat is a civil and positive space. It might even be something as simple as having your friend who always comes and watch your streams, giving them some moderator powers so that if your chat starts to become uncivil or if there's arguing going on, they can take care of that and you can continue to stream your content without having to stop. That's about all of the tips, tricks, and suggestions that I have. Um, I really thank you for sticking with this. I did want to put another picture of Jack because he is uh, a very adorable cat and he's my little best friend. And I know that everyone loves him. So there's your reward for sticking through it all. A copy of this presentation is linked in the description of this video, and the archive of this presentation will remain on our YouTube channel. I also wanted to let you know that if you are interested in joining the Video Games Club or learning more about us, you can check out our website. There's our website there, or you can send me an email with any questions that you have as well. My email is aks5602@psu.edu. I'm going to stick around and just make sure no one had any questions, but I really do appreciate everyone coming and learning more about accessibility with streaming. It's something that I'm really passionate about. Zaya said Yoshi isn't a bear. Well, he was at the Build-A-Bear. He's a dinosaur. Is he a dinosaur? That wasn't really ever covered in Mario. I don't really see any questions, but I know sometimes you don't come up with questions until afterwards. So I do want to remind everyone that my email is available to people. I check my email all the time, and that you can also check out the website. And you can even comment on this video later if you're watching it after the fact, and I will come back and respond to people's comments as well. But I really hope that everyone has a great day. I really appreciate you all coming out, and